Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. My pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for tuning on in. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online. ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do go back and get caught up at your leisure, you can always find the show via podcast. We'll post it to Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you're subscribing to the Jeff Cameron Show podcast. As news comes down the pike here in the next several weeks, you're going to want to be subscribed to the Jeff Cameron Show podcast. That way you can find me. We can do the show from the moon and you'd still get it, baby. All guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street. Online at phoneherotlh.com. Want to email us, jcs at 979espnradio.com. You can. Hello, YouTubers. How the hell are you? Woo. Got a little hot this weekend.
Did you mention the podcast at all?
Yeah, you're going to want to subscribe to the Jeff Cameron Show podcast. Yes, make sure you're on it. More details to come, but that's your best friend right there. It'll show up in the inbox. You'll go, damn it, there it is. Cameron came through for me again. So, good. Let's do it. So, hey, listen, what time is that softball game tonight?
7 p.m.
You're damn right it is.
Unless it's not, because of weather or delays from the previous game. Right, yeah, you just never know.
Let's go Noles. Man, that's been something to watch right there. That's a good product. That's a fun team. And they're still kicking, still fighting, over and over again. They capture the imagination of Florida State fans everywhere. It's something that really, it's been a total transformation for me, for you, for really anybody that was late to the game with the softball and all the improvements that have been made over the last several years in the way the sport's played. It's entertaining, and our team is good when they play with a lot of heart. A lot of heart. They're smart, hardworking. Good work out of them. I can't wait to watch. It'll be fun. And really, we have no distractions tonight because the Lightning, who are up 3-1 after telling Carolina to suck it over the weekend, are not playing tonight. So we can tune into the softball. Of course, the men won't be playing baseball tonight either. They're no longer playing baseball, period. It's kind of like contact. They don't make contact, and they don't play baseball. So that's what's happening right now. Florida State removed from the postseason after throwing the ball away time and again. They make so many errors in critical situations, none bigger than Nander DeSatis' error. I feel bad for the kid because nobody wants to make that error. Nobody wants to throw away the game the way he threw away the game. Nobody wants to be responsible for that. It's got to be soul-crushing. I wish him well, but he did do it. He did throw it into next week, and he rushed on a throw that he had no business rushing. He could have rolled it over there. There's a kid running down the line who has a torn ACL. He quite literally runs slower than me by a lot, and I'm about to be 50. There was no reason whatsoever to make that throw in the manner that he did, but it's also not shocking. I think that was his 18th, 17th, 18th error of the season. This team makes lots of them, just like they strike out a ton. And I think this has got to be a maddening year for Florida State coaches. Maddening year. I mean, it's their job to fix it, and they'll have to take responsibility for what ends up being a pretty average season, 31-24, 32-24, something like that. Not real good. They had some ingredients, and I'll stand by that. In fact, those ingredients came together to win the first game and then put them in a position to win that second game because they can hit the long ball. They really can, and they can pitch. So those two things are big factors in baseball games. They don't do a lot of other things well at all, but they do those two things pretty well. And yet here we were with a position to win it and put themselves in a commanding position in that regional. And just like that, grand opening, grand closing, they're gone. That's that. And some of the uglier aspects of this team kind of reared their ugly head at the worst possible time, and you lose the baseball game. So it's frustrating. I'm ready for them to be done playing because they're not a lot of fun to watch, and let's hope that gets better. I think it will. It's disappointing. There's no getting around that. They couldn't hit a lick in terms of when you're just looking at batting average, and I know there are way more important stats than batting average, but when you got multiple guys hitting in the 100s, that ought not happen in college baseball, ought not be. I mean, take a look around at some of the teams still playing and the teams that were in that regional. You don't see an overabundance of guys hitting a cool $170.
Yeah, pick your example. But as we were watching on Friday, the game that started at 3:00, and you're giving way to Dylan Simmons, who again, he's not trying to have a rough year.
But he's hitting 230 as a DH with no home runs.
With no home runs, that's your DH. That's the situation you're in. That's the situation you're in currently.
Yeah,
that says it all.
A lot of guys getting at bats this weekend that you're like, really?
Right. But that says it all. And we almost made our way around it to get to a super. And if we got to a super, I think we were going to Omaha. I really do.
Well, and that's the funny part, right? You and I agree on this. Actually, they were pretty suited to win a super regional because they've got frontline pitching that can win a game to start, and then obviously they have a bank of arms that they can turn to. And win 2 out of 3. They won 2 out of 3 against Notre Dame on the road. They swept. They won 4 from Miami. You saw lots of instances where they could do that in a series. They won 6 of their last 7 ACC series. I mean,
Do we need to rewrite the successes over Florida and Miami this season? And I know they played 500 ball against Florida, but I mean, do we, or is that baseball? Because 19-1 to send you 0-2 in Q.
Wow,
that's alarming.
Yeah, that's a toughie down there in Gainesville. That was a strange regional, and it felt a lot like, and I'm speculating here, like something's wrong. And I don't mean like you just got beat, because people get beat. I mean, it happens. It's baseball. But most of the time, the host club doesn't get beat 19-1 by South Alabama.
Now, let me put my Corey Clark hat on for a second. Has that ever happened to a regional host? A regional host
losing 19-1
to lose by 18 runs. That can't have ever happened before. There's no way.
Somebody go find that out, because it was laughable. It was also funny to see Miami get knocked out of that regional as well. So it's not like, listen, it's not like Florida State was the only team in the state stumbling across here and finding the exit. It was those two as well. But I'm more concerned about us just because this was a really tough year. I mean, I don't remember too many Florida State lineups. I don't remember any Florida State lineups where they just struck out a gazillion times. I mean, good Christ. People setting records left and right against us for strike. I mean, literally, that happened multiple times this year. People set records for strikeouts against us. If you needed to, in your heart of hearts, if you woke up and you played for whatever team not named Florida State, and the thing that made you happiest in this world was striking somebody out, you really couldn't wait till that Florida State game came around. I mean, you were like a kid in a candy store. It was Christmas Day for you. We play Florida State. I'm going to strike out 15.
Yeah, it's like a Wilt Chamberlain after party.
I'm going to strike out at least double digits. I mean, that's a given. I just have to throw the ball over the plate, and I'm going to strike out 10. So that's tough. It's aggravating. It ought not be. I think because the standard is so high here, this is a preeminent baseball program. And when you sit down and watch us play, you don't see a preeminent baseball team right now, not this year. And I hate they got screwed last year because I think they were pretty good. But one thing to note, I thought outside of 2 innings, really, they just didn't look like a good baseball team, and that's really aggravating. But you want them to win. You care deeply about them winning, and you know that there is a formula there, even with all the errors and the strikeouts, that if you hit home runs and you pitch, you can beat people. You don't have to be pretty doing it, but you can beat people. And so you thought, okay, well, puncher's chance. Maybe they'll get it done. They win that first game. You thought maybe they'll get it done. Lacey out here hitting home runs. Matthew Nelson had a good regional, but they just don't. They have so many holes in the lineup. So many holes. So many holes in the lineup where innings go to die. I mean, you get past Nelson, you're like, okay.
And then you see the softball program extracting blood from a stone.
It's unbelievable. Fighting and fighting and fighting.
Yes. They're having a hard time with situational hits. You know, Mason's home run against LSU aside, they've got a lot of players who have history here, real history in the last 2 to 3 seasons, full seasons.
Championship history.
Right. Who can do a hell of a lot better than they're doing this year when it comes to situational hitting, power hitting, average, all of that stuff. And yet, even though they're slumping for their own standard, by their own standard, they're finding a way to work great at bats, all the details of their game, the mentality of it, the will, all of those intangible things that you talk about. You're seeing it, and we're wearing our opponents down. You know, I wonder, we needed the rest because we were up till freaking 4 or 5 in the morning on Sunday, and Alabama got a chance to rest a little bit more. But I wonder if they weren't a little shaken, and if we hadn't just, backed up and played the second game right there, I know we couldn't because James Madison, who was celebrating with our win, did you notice that?
Yeah.
They're like, we're playing tomorrow.
Woo-hoo!
Goodbye.
Yeah.
They're running to the bus.
Well, it's dumb. They're just sitting out there watching this.
Right.
The whole thing was so ridiculous.
But it looked like we had kind of broken them mentally. So Alabama gets a day to recoup, and they're ready to go tonight. But
and they're ready to go with a stud.
Exactly.
I mean, an absolute beast.
Yeah, but if you look at the numbers from last night's starter and tonight's starter, Fouts, they really aren't that much different. I mean, it's a couple of tenths of a point here or there. It's nothing crazy for the ERA. We have the approach. We're working great at bats. We're not hitting the ball like crazy, but we're working great at bats.
Well, and we definitely fight and believe. There's no doubt about that. Lots of credit go out to a lot of people this weekend. John Pack is a great kid, Florida State senior golfer. He's won everything under the sun, 2-time Walker Cupper. We have the Walker Cup from Royal Liverpool when he was there here in studio that he signed to me when I interviewed him for Sirius XM. He's also been on this show. Just an awesome kid. His story is wonderful. I know recently War Chant highlighted him as well. Corey talked to him. And so he's been out there for us to take notice of, but he's been on my radar for a while because when he was a freshman, he was playing, and I took my boys over to the tournament, and he spotted them along the 18th fairway. It was Bryson Clark and myself, and we're just cheering on the Noles. And when he noticed it was two kids, he walked over with 2 golf balls. Of course, the Noles play the Titleist golf ball with Pro V1s with the Seminole head on the ball. And he walked over and said, "Here you go, boys." And I had never met him before. He had no idea that I did radio or anything like that. He just saw 2 kids and walked over and handed them golf balls. And they still have those golf balls in their room up on their shelf along with some baseballs and footballs that have been signed. And the Lightning were really nice years ago when Clark was sick to send some stuff. So we still have those pucks and the sticks and all that stuff. But they'll always have that stuff, and they'll always remember that. And they've followed him closely from a distance. And, John Pack has rewarded them by going out and playing incredible golf. And on Sunday, he got more widespread recognition with the Jack Nicklaus Award presented by True Spec Golf, given to the best player in all of college golf. And he got that award along with the Ben Hogan, and he's won the Fred Haskins Award. I mean, it's just simply amazing. He took basically home all of the hardware. Most decorated Florida State golfer in history. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to Terrence Mann playing meaningful minutes in a Game 7 and getting put in the game early, and scoring 15 and looking good.
Going
and
5 of 10 from the field. Playing
a vital role. He, too, is somebody that we've always liked and enjoyed, and his company is fun to keep, and who's interesting and also hardworking and smart, and really now a viable NBA player.
Yeah, that's right. And he's now been involved in a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs, and he's been on the winning side of it because Luka Doncic scored 167 points. I haven't checked it.
That's what he does.
But they lost by 15.
That's what he does.
And it's because of guys like Terrence Mann, who we talk about this a lot. When remember the Spurs and Heat finals back-to-back years, and a couple of the better ones that we've seen, Golden State, Cleveland. Sometimes it's about those lost minutes and those guys who come off the bench at the end of the first quarter and they stay out there for a few minutes in the second, or also in the second half. 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, somebody needs a breather. Who are your role players? Because that's going to be, in a 7-game series, maybe the difference. I'm not saying that Terrence Mann by himself was, but players like him can be. Mm-hmm. And so that he went out there, and not only was he efficient, he was really efficient and unafraid. That's amazing because guess what? His name's going to get called again this next series.
Sure it will. Yeah, no, he's knocked down the door, and it's exciting to see him in a Clippers uniform. And I don't care really as much about the Clippers, but I certainly care about him, and it's cool to watch. And so congratulations to him as well. I know I'm probably forgetting people, but we documented the softball, documented the sad demise of postseason baseball for the men. I think the bigger picture with the men, when we get back to baseball talk for a second, is that I feel a larger sense of depression about just the lack of
the everything.
Yeah, it just I think because now listen, they didn't. This was not Florida State baseball's fault that obviously they had to play a season in which the attendance was severely limited. So there was no atmosphere in the games that you went to this year over at Hauser. It was so impacted by COVID and so few people in attendance.
Everything was a Tuesday afternoon game at 3 o'clock.
It just
in the
felt
afternoon.
it just felt like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you never got those electrifying moments, and I've been fortunate to be over in that stadium. Some of the most electrifying moments ever. That adrenaline we feel, the exaltation of a comeback win, and the place going nuts, and you could feel the effect of the animals and the fans in that stadium that they have on opposing teams in the biggest moments, right? We've all, if you're old enough, you've been over there for that. But if you're a Johnny-come-lately, and it's not your fault, you're just young, and you haven't really been able to experience that, you know not of which I speak. You must think to yourself, what's he talking about? It's okay. It's not great. Stadium's kind of a dump. It's not all that loud. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Stadium is a dump. It needs to be torn down. Brand new one needs to be built. We don't have the funds. We're going to have to get somebody like Xfinity to pay for it and call it the Xfinity such and such. They got to do it because it's not great. And when you look around, when you look all around college baseball at these regionals right now, you look in Oxford, you look in Fayetteville, you look all around, man, it's electrifying. Knoxville, of all places, you see these games, and, man, it's loud. They're nuts. It's intense. Fans in left field and in right field and lining. I mean, it's just something we're lacking here, and I hope to goodness that the powers that be see this and find a way. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but we got to get something going.
Yeah, the timing of it's really unfortunate because that is quite literally a line of delineation for the light at the end of the tunnel for both softball and baseball. That regionals were when the lights come on. It could be 100% capacity.
Yeah.
They didn't care. They're like, it's 100%. So you see this other thing that we weren't allowed to have. There would have been an atmosphere at Hauser if we hosted a regional. There's no doubt in my mind.
But it wouldn't have been nearly as good as some of those others that I'm describing because we don't have the outfield presence.
We don't afford the college experience to exist.
No, we don't. And, $7 beers is why. So, you look out there in Oxford, man, they're just dumping beer all over each other, going nuts.
Do you know how much money that is at Hauser?
Oh,
that's like thousands of dollars.
So it's something that I wish they would look into. But listen, also they have to have a more interesting product. You can't strike out 17 times a game and expect anybody to be interested.
But if you had an open tailgate going on in left field, people they'd find something to be interested about until it was time to cheer again.
God, that air from Nander. That's one I'll never forget. That's as bad and as sorry an air as you're going to see. That kid quite literally can't run on his way to first. He's got a torn ACL, and my man's just throwing it all over Hell's Half Acres. Like Edwin Moses is charging down first line. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, that's confidence. That's the difference, right? Because you see I think it was the sixth inning last night. It was late in the game, and it's a ground ball to Sydney Sherrill. Bobbles it. She almost falls on it. Picks it up, composes herself, fires across against a runner who can run.
Yeah.
And the throw's a half step in time. And Mason is going nuts because she knows that's a huge thing. You don't want the idea of the snowball effect in anybody's minds. But that's what it is. It's the composure. It's the poise.
Yeah, speaking of which, lack of poise at the U.S. Open for the women, Lexi Thompson. Oh, my God. There are times I watch the unraveling. In golf, it happens. We were talking this morning, Tom, you and I, Adam Scott unraveling at the British Open, allowing Ernie Els to win it.
From the practice group.
I won.
Playoff.
All right. Yeah, total collapse there. Jim Furyk years ago collapsed at Olympic. There have been collapses. John Vandeveld, for Christ's sakes. I mean, that's as bad as you'll ever see.
No, I'm not trying to that's legit. That was stunning.
Oh, well,
absolutely
he took
stunning.
half the earth with him on that pitch.
It was like twice.
It was insane.
At the time, my roommate Matt, he had napped. He was out for about an hour. I said, "You missed the most important hour in the last 5 years of the Masters." He goes, "What? Why didn't you wake me up?" I'm like, "You look like you were at peace."
Yeah, you were sleeping, man. Yeah.
It's all right. Jordan Spieth was just throwing up all over himself. Don't worry
about it. He sure was. That was something.
He's losing? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, you see it, though. In individualized sports, you see it, and you kind of, sometimes if the person's not a great person or you don't like that person for whatever reason, you can revel in it to varying degrees. I mean, and so long as that person's not a criminal, I don't take great pleasure in watching somebody just completely shatter their dreams by not being able to handle the moment. But watching Lexi, that was I'm squirming.
You said this years ago, and I'm understanding it now. The older you get, the more personal you take these things. Like, they don't make any sense. When somebody collapses, it used to be like, meh, when you're like 17, 18, that sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Now I'm 34, and it bugs me. Like,
sure.
I am bothered by what I'm watching.
Because, well, There's a lot of reasons, but perspective is one of them.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest one, I think. And you just don't like to see. I mean, here's the thing: do we think anytime soon she's going to get past this?
I don't know. She's had myriad examples of stuff like this. This is the biggest, of course.
Oh, this is a pretty damn big one, Tom. It's the U.S. Open. You're up by 5 strokes with 8 holes to play. Damn it, man. That's why when Rory collapsed at Augusta, I mean collapsed, hitting it to places we've never even seen before. I'm like, there's a house there?
Right.
So when he turned around and won the U.S. Open right after that, right?
Yes,
that was
he did.
By a lot.
By a record.
Yes, he dominated. I was like, thank goodness for that young man. Because that
right, you don't want it to linger.
The longer that lingers.
Yeah, he did well not to vomit on 10 at Augusta.
Oh,
he looked like he was going to.
Well, he was trying not to cry. That one bothered me when he was leaning on his driver.
What bothered me, even though I'm an American through and through for the Ryder Cup, is the Lee Westwood miss from 2 feet on 18.
Ooh.
You remember that?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Holy.
And Johnny Miller is presiding over the putt.
He
He's like,
can't wait.
These feel longer than they are. And he's like, I'm like, dude, come on. That's not fair with Lee. That's not fair with that guy.
Well, but Johnny wants to win.
Right.
He wants to win. He probably thought it was the greatest thing
It didn't
he'd
even
ever
hit the
seen.
hole.
No, didn't even hit
That's
the
what
hole.
it felt like Lexi's final putt yesterday.
Well, the chip, it was just, you're like, oh, no. That's something that I would do.
Right.
As an amateur hack. Like, you can't do that. That's something.
It's weird. We did not talk about that at all until today. And I was texting with a couple other friends. I'm like, I don't know how many people actually did, but I watched the Women's Open because
I watched it.
Of the storyline.
Women's
it's also
golf
a
is
major.
good.
But the storyline of this has happened a lot. Is she going to actually finish the job today? And my God.
I like the girl that won. She's fun.
Yeah.
She's funny, and she did her damnedest to try to do the interview in English. She was great. I mean, she speaks 4 languages. She's a smart woman, but English is not her native language. So she admitted she was struggling with it.
Sasso, yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She's fun.
She swings the hell out of the club.
She swings it like Rory.
Yep.
That's who she idolizes, and her swing looks just like it.
She said thank you to him as she was breaking down.
Yeah,
because he gave her a shout out on Instagram.
He did,
and it meant the world.
Yeah.
Like. Wow.
That's cool?
Really cool.
That is really cool.
If you're going to blow it, at least have somebody nice win.
Well, and she came out the box because she's 19 years old, and you're thinking, and she doubles. She had 2 doubles. She looked terrible. She had no chance. But she played the last 15 holes at 1 over? Well, everybody, or 1 under?
No, it was probably at least 1 or 2 under.
Yeah, it was 1 or 2 under the last 15 holes because everybody else.
It was a tough day out there. That 18th hole is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't like that course, actually. I don't.
Everybody loves it. Yeah,
I don't.
Like,
the whole time I was watching, it's like,
none of this is comfortable.
It doesn't look,
well, even the first cut is actually full primary rough, too. You see some of those lies, you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it feels a little doctored. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Yeah, we didn't even mention in that opener there the Jon Rahm situation at Memorial, which was a preventable situation, which I'll get into later in the show. But in the moment, I thought, oh, no, this is not good. And I didn't mention Julio Jones getting traded to the Titans, which I really am happy about. Go take it on over to the Tennessee Titans. They're not going to the playoffs. That's a beautiful thing. There you go. Go over there. Nobody will hear from you again. That'll be that.
So it went down, and I'm listening to the coverage in the car on NFL Network Radio. They have John Clayton on. And clearly it was your guy, Zig Verkasi. He was hosting.
Look at old Zig. Loves him some Jeff Cameron, by the way.
Clearly they had to do 10 minutes with John. I don't know why. But they asked the same question 8 times. And John answered it the same pretty much 8 times. It was the most awkward radio. Like, they just got a lot better receiver. Yes, they did. They lost Corey Davis, and now they've got A.J. Brown. And
if Julio Jones plays.
Right,
Yeah, sure.
But, I mean, that's really got to help their 2 deep. I'm like, yeah, oh, my God, guys.
Fellas.
Ask about the Colts. Ask about anything else, because the balance of power in the South might have shifted with that one move. And certainly I would think the odds in the AFC are going to shift around a little bit as well. It's not going to detract from Kansas City or anything.
Or Baltimore, and they're not better than the Colts. They're not going anywhere. That's a perfect place. They're not getting in. They're not going anywhere.
Now, that's interesting. Really? You don't think that they don't have a chance?
No. If you basically... They're a one-trick pony. They run the ball down your throat, and then they throw off of that. And to me, if you stop that, and it's easier said than done, but if you stop that, they're not good enough.
With those 2 receivers?
They're not better than you. They're not better than Indianapolis.
But are we sold on Carson Wentz?
No. You got a point there. I mean, let's see what happens with Carson Wentz.
I think that's a compelling battle in that division. And here's the thing. They're going to have to throw their way out of an 8-man box, right?
Correct.
Tannehill's going to have to prove that he can hit both Brown and Julio with regularity, and Julio's got to prove that he can play with regularity. I hear you.
Yeah, Julio's got to play more than 6 games a year, which for the first time in a long, long time. I do think that there's something to Tannehill having to prove that he can make those throws consistently, because he's not a great quarterback. He's a decent quarterback.
But if he can, then you've got equal numbers against Derrick Henry in the running game.
Yeah, that's true. That's
problematic.
True. We'll see, man. I don't think that they're a real contender to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. So that's fine. You go on over there, wither away,
and send Aaron Rodgers over to Denver, and you've got yourself a
carte blanche. What you got is Tampa Bay and the Rams in the NFC Championship is what you have, and then that game worries me a little bit. I still think Aaron Rodgers probably stays in Green Bay. I don't at this point.
Well, Russell Wilson got on a flight to go to his OTAs in Seattle. So that was never going to work out until he got on a plane to go to his organized team activities.
I am kind of curious how that ends there. But as far as what that does about Julio leaving Atlanta, it makes me excited. Because when he plays, he is exceptional, obviously, and that's one less weapon for a team in our division, and that excites me very much. Look, he's 32 years old. I always liked him and respected him. I think when you think about athleticism and you think about the kind of freaks of our time at wide receiver that we've seen, he comes to mind pretty quickly. But he is just never healthy these days. And that is a $15.3 million guaranteed salary for the season that they had to invest in. His best days, the 7-time Pro Bowler, probably well beyond where he's at right now.
Yeah. Currently they're at $3 million of cap room, so they got to do some shuffling, restructuring on some deals, but they'll make the numbers work. This is because they know that they've got a window of maybe 2 years or 3 years where all the things need to fall into place for them to have a real crack at it. And maybe they do. A couple injuries to the whole conference, something like last year. Let's just say the offensive line issues for Kansas City occurred in week 11, right? Well, now all of a sudden, you've got a real crack at this thing. But I think the pecking order of Kansas City followed by Buffalo remains the same. I think those would be your top 2 favorites, with the next group, including Tennessee. It would include Tennessee, but it'd be Indianapolis, Tennessee, Cleveland in that next wave.
The roster in
Baltimore.
I think the roster in Cleveland's better. Baltimore's better. The Colts are better. Kansas City's better. Chargers will be interesting.
Yeah, they're probably a year away, but we'll see.
And remember, the Titans lost their OC. So,
what do you think of the second round pick? You think that's too much? because that's what it ended up being. I think NFL GMs really grasp to the picks a little much. Like, I think that's a great deal for Tennessee. If you're only giving up a second.
You're only giving up a second. Again, you got to know that the guy's going to play at least 50% of the damn games. And even then, I mean, I'd want him to, ideally, I need him to play 16 games. I need him to play, or 17 these days.
Now.
Yeah, I need him to play some damn football. Because, again, this is all in an effort. Obviously, Tannehill really, really does benefit greatly now. But also, and because you talked about it, losing
Corey Davis.
Yeah. They also lost their tight end, the Smith guy. Yeah.
To New England.
And so, that they've lost two very important, and their offense coordinator. So those are three very important pieces. But this benefits Derrick Henry a lot, and he could use the help. My goodness gracious. But if he plays 8 games, if he plays 9 games, it doesn't do him any good. You need that guy to be there when the chips are on the line.
But if you're Tennessee, because nobody else apparently was willing to go to a second-round pick, which is just crazy for me. Because if you're a piece away, and yes, you're taking a bit of a flyer on Julio, but if you have the cap room and you're a piece away, absolutely you part with a second-round pick. Maybe it's recency bias because we swung for the fences in Tampa and it worked out, and it usually doesn't. But, I mean, do you really need to care about the 10-year plan if you're the Titans right now? You need the 2-year plan. You got to maximize your 2-year plan. Who cares about 10 years down the road? Tannehill won't be there.
No. I kind of thought, by the way, the 49ers were going to get him. That's who I thought was going to go get him.
I thought it was going to be the Chargers or the 49ers.
Yeah. And I think if I were him, I would have been really intrigued by both of those. The injury situation in San Francisco with all those guys that went down, I'd want to know where they stand. But if they're back fully healthy, Shanahan is who I'd want to play for if I was him. He has, so that would be huge. And if not him, then I would want to play with a boy wonder at quarterback, and they seemingly have one with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, Keenan Allen lining up opposite you as well.
It doesn't hurt.
You're going to get great matchups.
Yeah. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Yeah, that one and the one on Piper was fantastic.
I didn't see that one.
Oh,
So that
buddy,
was,
it's really good. It's really good.
Did you make it through it? Okay.
Well, his story is tough, man. He's been abused.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, oh, man, Jesus.
Right.
Of course.
Do you have flashbacks to your Jake the Snake interview?
I did not. He's in it.
Is he?
Yeah. Just like he was in the Stone Cold one. So
He was there, briefly.
briefly, yeah. We're talking about, Tom and I were just talking during the break. Surprisingly, I've been riveted by these A&E biographies on the wrestlers on Stone Cold. I've seen Stone Cold and I've seen the one on Piper, of course. Thanks to all of you who gave me the heads up. I must have had like 50 people because they all know my love of Piper. They're like, hey, dude, the one on Piper's coming up. It's like, all right. Just like you yesterday with Enrico Palazzo.
Did you flip over?
I flipped over,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, the thing about the Naked Gun movies that you are reminded of when you flip over is they are so hit and miss. The jokes, they come fast and furious. They're either really over-the-top great or just awful, slapsticky, terrible. Mm-hmm. It's like there's no middle ground.
But you got to put up with some of the bad to get the payoff on the good.
Yeah, you got to put up with a lot of the bad, and then the payoff on the good is really good.
Well, the end of the movie I could take or leave, like the very end with the watch and stuff, and like who cares? But the sequence of them showing the replays and the bloopers of the year, and then you got like the tiger and you got all this stuff, which I buckle over every time. Then he Enrico Palazzo, he knocks him out, and then the janitor walks in. And he's like, "Oh, sorry,
his
fellas."
pants are down.
Down to the point, the national anthem, and then Enrico Palazzo saved the queen after the umpire. So that is about 20 to 25 minutes of movie glory. It's really, really good.
Yeah, the dialogue between Frank and his boy, those are the.
Yep.
Their timing is impeccable.
Yes.
Their timing.
Sex, Frank?
Not now.
No, not now. Maybe later.
He's like so taken aback. By it. It's just a blunt question for the moment. Like he perceives it as a question. No, it's really well done. The timing is really, really good. That's not where I was going to go, and now I'm going to be mad at myself.
Stone Cold Steve Austin A&E biography, Naked Gun.
No, I know where I was going to go. I was going to go with the fact that you and I have not had the opportunity to talk since the devastating news that Cain Madden took it to Notre Dame, and Brian Kelly has since taken a shot at Florida State. And, I can give him a little credit where the quote is that, when you're trying to get these student athletes, it's not about the flash or these transfers. It's not about being flashy. They've been through all of that. It's about the substance. They want to get to the league. And I'm like, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, well, if I was Mike Norvell, I'd say, we also believe in the safety of our students. And that's one thing that we can promise when they're here at Florida State is you're in good hands.
Yeah.
Safe hands.
We're not sending you up to the top of the tower to film today's practice and Gale Force wins.
Thanks, though. I appreciate your comment about the badass car we have.
Yeah. No, I kind of rolled my eyes. I mean, that's all right, fine. In truth, it did feel like that would be a really, really difficult get for us, given Cain Madden is, West Virginia.
Right.
It's a toughie.
Midwest seems a little closer to home than
more
Florida.
to his liking. And let's
poor little Cain.
And let's be frank, they're steady churning out NFL linemen, and that's the biggest thing. You're up against the pedigree there, and we got to establish that, man. I sure would like to get to a place where we're known for churning out offensive linemen. Yes.
Well, what's interesting, so when I saw the photos of he and his dad arriving, I was like, oop, this is going to be a different kind of pitch. We've got a different pitch to make here.
Oh, man.
Because his dad looks like a social media selfie while I'm driving my car guy, because he had the Oakleys.
Man,
here we go.
That
all
guy,
right.
yeah.
So that's fine.
Did he have the M-frames?
Yeah.
He did?
He did.
I didn't see that picture.
And it looked like he had the barbed wire tattoo.
Oh,
I was like,
he's that guy.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Oh, boy.
I was like, all right.
So he's M-frames and barbed wire tattoo?
Yeah, that's right.
My man, you are West Virginia through and through.
So there's a different kind of pitch there.
You think?
Yeah. But we tried.
There's a different kind of pitch there.
Yeah.
I know the pitch I'd make. I cannot say it on these airwaves.
Maybe for bellying up one day.
Yeah, I know the pitch, and it's 100% going to get him. It doesn't take much.
Right.
No. It doesn't take much. Sprinkle a little of this and a little of that, and it is heaven on earth, buddy. You got it.
We should have brought down West Virginia's governor. Remember our guy?
Oh, man. Yeah, one of my favorites of all time.
And I encourage all businesses that are allowed to open to do so only if they can follow the guidelines to keep West Virginia safe. Today at our news briefing, there was an audio glitch, and it sounded like that I had said a bad word, a word that I would never say, nor have I ever said. No possibility in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
All right, so a couple of things about this, since we should examine that again. That is as good a denial as you're going to get. That is an all-in denial. When you throw down with the not only did I not say it, it was just an audio glitch. Glitch. But also that it's a word that you wouldn't say, nor have you ever said. Well, my God, we are doubling and tripling down here, are we not? You're telling me in your lifetime that you have never, well, say, rustling cattle or shooting possum, have ever in your life said that word? You've never said it?
And I encourage all businesses that are allowed to open to do so only if they can follow the guidelines to keep West Virginia safe.
Now, in truth, had he said it, bravo, sir. That is an emphatic. Now, let's get it together.
I'm serious.
Now, everybody, can we keep each other safe for Christ's sake? It's not a breach of your freedoms. Now, just do what we're asking you to do.
And I encourage all businesses that are allowed to open to do so only if they can follow the guidelines to keep West Virginia safe.
But he says he didn't say it, nor has he ever said it in his life.
At our news briefing, there was an audio glitch. And it sounded like that I had said a bad word. A word that I would never say, nor have I ever said. No possibility in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
That last part leads me to believe him. He could be lying his ass off, and you've got me. You have got me. No possible way, shape, form, or fashion. It just didn't happen. It's a glitch, Jeff. It's just a glitch.
That's the guy we needed to pitch to Cain Madden. We needed him.
Fly him in, have him meet them in the parking lot.
I have a feeling, oddly, that Rick Trickett would have done well with those two.
Yeah, but Rick never got anybody ever.
But he was from West Virginia.
Yes, he was.
Jimbo
would have got him.
Dad would
I would
like
think.
Him. Yeah.
Well,
he was here this weekend, Rick was. He's I forget what school he's working with now, but for the mega camp.
Who wasn't? Every single person on earth was at the mega camp. I can't believe this thing. It's like a Joel Osteen event or something, and people coming from all over the world to listen to this pitch. It's crazy.
That is on nobody's Jeff Cameron Show bingo card. An Osteen reference.
I mean, it's nuts. I have been
Uncle Luke, Ron Zook,
I have
Trickett.
been absolutely floored by the fact that they got over 3,000 people in here, kids in here, and then over 50 coaches from different colleges and the high school coaches. This long term, this has to have a very, very positive impact. It may not do much for the immediate future, put you in a great light. Certainly, you're doing everything you possibly can to tackle the end of the dead period, the opportunity to finally have face-to-face conversations with these potential players for your, obviously everybody you meet that you identify out there could be, if they're good enough, a potential player for you down the line. And I just feel like it should resonate. I really hope it does. Only time will tell. It's speculation right now, but it feels like it will.
Yeah, the thing I saw on War Chant, this is interesting to me because it does seem like chaos. You're looking at the photos of the event.
But it's not.
And the quote was that, this is one of the better and more organized mega camps ever because typically they are kind of a cluster. Like
How
nobody
could they
gets
not
to see.
be? Yeah.
Right. But this staff, big surprise, had their I's dotted and the T's crossed and everything was running as smoothly as possible. And they also were continually taking charge and making sure that they were the ones that were running the drills. It wasn't, who's leading this thing. Like, they had a plan.
Well, if you're going to do this, you have to do it right. Otherwise, you end up taking a bath. You look terrible. So I'm not surprised that Mike Norvell, who I've had the opportunity to see behind the scenes and see the way he interacts with his staff, see the way he interacts with his players, to see the way he puts together anything he's involved in, I'm not surprised to note that this was very organized. That is who he is. That much has been established. We're probably going to have to stop saying it because now it's just a given. It's not a one-time success. This is who he is. It's what he's about. Got it. Now we got to win some games. Hopefully that happens too. But I do think ultimately when you hear the stories of former players and these high school coaches, how many of these guys have said how impressed they've been, this is going to have a long-term effect in a positive manner. In fact, I think we're going to talk to Ira Schoffel here in a minute, and we can ask him about that. He's been out there at the camps. I haven't. He has. Jeff Cameron, 97.9 ESPN Radio. ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. All right. Get to talk to Ira this segment. Looking forward to it. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. Missed anything, go back, get caught up. You can always email us, jcs at 979espnradio.com. The podcast will be up as soon as the show concludes. You can find it wherever it is you find podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to the Jeff Cameron Show podcast. Good thing to do. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you're well. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm downright, Tom, giddy about tonight's softball game. I'm going to get home, get a good meal together, sit down with the family. Let's watch this team hopefully keep on keeping on.
I haven't checked over to OKC to see if the weather's all right today.
Because
there's the game before us at 4. So it's 7 o'clock is what it's supposed to be. I think that's about as far as you can comment.
Let's do what I said I was going to do and bring in the aforementioned Ira Schoffel, warchant.com, the website. Hello, Ira. How are you, brother?
I'm great, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So talk to me about your observations. I've been obviously looking on Twitter, and I know that Corey wrote a piece on warchant.com about this mega camp. These camps have been, I mean, have they resonated even more than you thought? Seems to me they're just nothing but a glowing success, just a huge success for Mike Norvell and his staff.
Yeah, they've been really good and really in different ways. You know, we talked, a month ago when the month of May, normally coaches would be out recruiting. They couldn't do that, so they set up those free youth clinics around the state, which was really a hit with a lot of younger people and community coaches and youth coaches and things like that. This weekend, this past week, they had some of the high-profile visitors come in, and then they had like an elite camp on Saturday night, and that event was Saturday evening. That was like the big-time guys. I mean, 4 stars and 5 stars, and a lot of really highly acclaimed recruits. Guys at Florida State would love to get in this part of this next recruiting class. Then Sunday was the mega camp, which was another different angle, and that's where it's basically a supersized satellite camp where they invite every college in the country to come if they want to come and check out the players who come to this camp. And they had almost 3,000 kids come in. It's all high school juniors and seniors, and it's kids who are going into their junior and senior years, and it's kids who might be Florida State material, but a lot of them are not going to be Florida State material. So you have these coaches from everywhere from Washington State, Indiana, Maryland, and smaller schools, Division II schools, Division III schools, FCS schools that came in. And so it's kind of a neat concept because you give these high school kids a chance to be seen. Maybe they live in this area, but they're not going to be seen by, some of the schools are recruiting Jeff Cameron back in the day. Not necessarily the Power 5 schools.
Right,
so
yes, the Lenore Ryans of the world. Yes, that's correct.
It brings those coaches and those kids together. And then there's some ancillary benefits, too, because, some of the cool things are, you former FSU players who are now coaches now at the high school level or trainers at different schools. They come back and bring their kids, and it's just it's a really positive thing. But each camp has been targeted a different way, and I think has accomplished a different goal.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't get down in the muck. You got there and got the details, and that's what I like to hear. Now I know exactly what everything is, but I just do know that anytime you have over 50 colleges represented and 3,000 plus kids there, that's got to be a good thing. And the publicity surrounding this staff and the events that they've put on have been very, very positive. One thing that we didn't see happen, unfortunately, and I think it was always an uphill battle, but no Cain Madden. He's going to take it to Notre Dame. And I suppose, given the fact that they churn out NFL offensive linemen on the regular, it was probably an easy decision for him. We all think that everybody should come to Florida State, but in truth, until they can get to that point where Coach Atkins, who I think is a great coach, is having the same sorts of success stories, it's going to be hard to get a kid like that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give them credit for getting him to come down here and take a visit and take his first visit. I mean, the kid's from Ohio, and he's being recruited by Notre Dame. And given their track record with, other than maybe Ohio State, I don't know if there's another school that might have been more attractive to him. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you got the fact that Florida State has really struggled in that position. So I think they did everything they possibly could. They fired every shot. Alex Atkins and Kenny Dillingham and that staff did a tremendous job just to get the kid to come visit. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know how many people, unless you grew up a Florida State fan,
Right.
I don't know how many people would have made a different decision. So it hurts. But again, that's one where you are absolutely you're at the club in LA, and you're absolutely going up to the most attractive person of the opposite sex in the bar, or the same, whichever. You're going up to the most desirable person in the bar and shooting your shot, and you're not always gonna win that one.
No, unfortunately. But so far, so good for this staff, and most of what we read about right now, very positive. Speaking of positive, Florida State softball team is absolutely the best story going right now. When I think about a team, obviously John Pack individually winning all the awards that he did, and we've talked about that some already today. He brought home every piece of hardware you possibly could. He'll end up being the most decorated Florida State golfer in history. It's awesome. But in terms of, and I was also very excited, and I mentioned this last hour, to see Terrence Mann getting run, playing significant minutes in a Game 7, scoring 15 points, looking as good as he did. These are all awesome things. But right now, I think collectively Florida State fans everywhere has fallen in love with this softball team, and I think it's because we know that they've gotten everything out of their ability, that they're maybe even overachieving a little bit. This isn't the same team that won the national championship from a few years ago. This team is not as good as that team, but man, do they fight, and man, do they put up with adversity better than most, and not only deal with it, but get beyond it and win games, and they love to play. They play smart, and they play for each other, and they exude that joy. Man, this is a really cool story. My kids can't wait for this game tonight. Like my boys, they're like, let's sit down and watch this game tonight. And I'm right there with them. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, man, it's really 2018 all over again. The only difference here, I think, is because of what happened in 2018. I think people kind of started, the masses, the softball community has, obviously loved that team for a long time. They have a huge fan base, part of the FSU fan base that's in love with FSU softball. But, the people on the outside, the people who are just kind of casual observers, got really into them last year or in 2018 during the College World Series. This time, I think people started to kind of catch the buzz a little bit earlier, maybe even in the super regional round when they weren't expected to get out of a super regional, and then now they go out there and they lose the first game, but they come right back. And I think it's a combination of all those things. Like you said, it's the way they play. Their style of play is fun, even though it's not the massive home runs, just the aggressiveness and on the bases and things like that. And then the other thing is, I've been saying that on Twitter for a while. We talked about it a little bit before, but I really think people are turning on to what an awesome sport college softball is. It really is. I mean, it's a combination of, they found something when they, I don't know what year it was in the night. I'm not sure exactly. It's been a while now that they changed the ball to where the ball flies out of the stadium now, and the way those kids, the athletic ability of the players in college softball, it's a fun sport, and it's so fast paced. You don't have pitchers taking 2 hours between every pitch. There's just so many things that they're doing well, and then when you add into it that FSU's playing really well and they play a fun style, and everybody loves Coach Alameda. It's just it's intoxicating. You're 100% right though, man, because we track the numbers on what brings people to our website, and right now I'm telling you, softball, when they win a football game, it's putting up numbers comparable to FSU football, which is amazing.
Well, we don't win a lot of football games, Ira, so there's so little data, very little data for you to work with, right? It seems like we need a larger sample size of data for the football team in the win column for you to really make those numbers work. But I would also say this: the timing couldn't be better because, and I'm quick to point out that this is in no way personal when I talk about this, and it can sound like it, but the baseball team isn't real likable. And now they're not playing because they've been eliminated because they strike out all the time. And they don't ever pick up the baseball when they need to pick up the baseball. That's as an egregious an error in the loss the other night that you'll ever see. You got a guy who's missing an ACL hobbling down to first, and a shortstop who's made well over double-digit errors already on the year decide that, I mean, it's the fastest person in the world, he thinks. It's just not knowing the situation. And it seems like Florida State does that a lot. And it's very frustrating to watch.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're crystallizing the comparison between the two teams right now. And, I think you're right on the money when you say that, one of the things that, fans like it when teams either maximize their potential or overachieve, and they really dislike it when the teams they support don't live up to what they could, don't live up to the sum of their parts. And that's, you have an example right there of two teams that, you definitely can make that case. This is not an FSU softball team that anybody predicted would be in this position. Certainly not one of the best top 3 teams in the country still playing softball. And that FSU baseball team coming into the season was a team that some people thought might be one of the top 10 or 15 teams in the country. And just didn't have that kind of a season. So, I mean, I think that's, you're right. I mean, I think the timing, the juxtaposition of those two things are pretty similar, or, kind of feed into it a little bit. And I don't know. I mean, I watched that. It would be one thing if they lost in that regional, just because the other teams were so great, but you didn't feel like Florida State in either of their losses. You never felt like Florida State played as well as they could, or even close to it, and that's really frustrating. And they're also a part of the overall problem with college baseball and baseball in general. Is it's just not that fun to watch right now. So unless you're winning, it's really not fun to watch.
Yeah, good point. Always a pleasure, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yeah, take care. That's Ira Schoffel, managing editor, warchant.com. Baseball's got a problem. We've talked about that some, and there's actually an article today about that, which when we get to probables next hour, I'll bring this up, Tom, about their MLB, to the larger point that he's making. MLB has decided they're going to have to do something, like now, in season. They're going to change some things. And it all has to do with the substances being put on the baseball that allow for the spin rate to increase at a level we've never seen before, and make pitches that much more unhittable, but also when contact is made, not nearly as damaging. So you just have, it's a frustrating product. This specific to Florida State, this team struck out. I mean, I don't think that I'm putting words in his mouth. I'm sure Mike Martin Jr. really had a hard time with this team this year. It's got to be infinitely frustrating. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we both know, we've had him on over the years. I know Mike really well. He's not teaching that. He's not saying, listen, yes, you want to be patient. You want to walk. You want to get on base. All of those things. That's every offensive approach in baseball these days. Of course it is. But also, you can be very aggressive within the zone if you understand your hot and cold zones, the old-fashioned Ted Williams zone, right? Understanding what pitches you hit well, hard contact, that kind of thing. It's certainly not to strike 3 down the heart of the plate. It's certainly not to strike out 19 times in a game or 16 times in a game. That's not what they're teaching, but for whatever reason, that was the product this year.
He knew it in preseason. He said we may need to do the little things like move runners over and stuff like that because it's going to be a little bit tough at the plate. It's just, unfortunately, outside of a couple players, there were a couple of guys who had really good
Matthew Nelson had an incredible year.
Well, sure, I mean, he's consistent, and you could set him and forget him. But Cabell had a good finish of the season. Green came on at the end of the season. Lacey did.
Yeah, Lacey did.
But I mean, there really wasn't a huge swath of team-wide, lineup-wide improvement as you got from March into April into May. You had a couple guys, but it wasn't like by the end of the season they were a different animal. And so what happens is in a regional, at some point your weaknesses are going to get exposed. Can you overcome them? And we couldn't, so we're home.
Yeah, 31-24. They were 20-16 in the ACC, and you just have you've got too many guys that had to play significant roles that are hitting under 250, 260 in college baseball. I mean, there are guys in your lineup that play on a regular basis that hit under 200. 200. That's a toughie.
Right. Well, given what you had before the season started with Simmons and you got Reese Albert, hopefully healthy, this is what you're thinking preseason before it all starts.
That's what you were thinking, yeah. And that was a big part of it. Reese apparently was never right again because even when he did play, he didn't hit at all. He hit 175 or whatever it was. Yeah.
But you stack those guys in a lineup with Matthew Nelson, who did more than we expect, okay? So we didn't think he'd do that. and Robbie Martin, and you lead off with Tyler. Okay, now you're talking about a lineup that gets 5 or 6 deep, and then you just need a couple of players like a Logan Lacey to step up, and you've got real depth, and you've got a variety of bats that you can bring into a lineup and scare a team. But it didn't work out that way. It wasn't even close to that way.
Well, and then, and again, no, it's not a personal attack on these kids, but when we're depending late in the year on Nico Baldor, come on. The things aren't going well for you.
He had the good game at South Bend.
Well, he had an incredible game in South Bend.
Yeah.
Yes, he did, Tom. I'm glad you identified the game. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Man, I can't imagine the people that paid for the Mayweather-Paul fight. Like, can we stop doing that, everybody? Can we stop making guys unseemly rich with what's a clear sham? I can't tell somebody what to do. I mean,
that's a tale as old as time, man.
No, but normally...
Unseemly dudes getting wicked rich off of ridiculous things.
Oh, but man, this is just... It's right front and center. It's so obvious. You're like, he's a YouTuber. Stop doing that. Stop that. Stop doing that.
Support better projects on YouTube is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Worthwhile stuff.
Don't throw your money away on that nonsense. I don't know. I'm not going to prattle on about it too much, but yeah, when I see these things, I'm like, damn it, man. Really?
So you watched on Saturday the blow-by-blow. I did not. I was finishing a golf tournament in the second period of Tampa and Carolina, where there were goals galore.
It was insane. Christy came in. She kept hearing me yell at the TV, and she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is insane. I just watched a 8-goal period.
It's time to get nervous. Because you close this series out,
they could win it.
Tampa has the upper hand on both the Bruins and Islanders. They could lose that series, but the chances are a little bit slimmer.
You'd be in a good position in that series.
You're staring at Vegas, Colorado winner in all likelihood, unless
Probably
Montreal
Colorado.
just keeps going. Probably.
By the way, Montreal's playing good hockey.
They are.
Like, really good hockey.
Carey Price, man.
Yeah. Standing on his
Every
head.
Hall of Famer has that extra thing that
one
happens.
last one.
There he is.
Yeah.
He is brilliant.
Yeah, man, it's exciting. It's really exciting. No, just in terms of, we always tell people, we always try to get people on this show to watch playoff hockey, because if you're not a fan and you're looking to see what all the fuss is about, if you just watched playoff hockey, you'd go, okay, I get this. It's electrifying. It's intense.
Well, now that the fans are back in the building, it's an easier thing for a first-timer to see and consume.
Right.
You know, when it was in the bubble, it's like, I'm not sure that you want to watch this. It's great,
It
but
was great, but yeah, only if you really liked
you need
it.
to get,
Yeah.
you don't want to bring somebody in straight to the deep cuts. Like
No,
that's
right,
not
right.
the way for them to enjoy the band or get to know the band.
Yeah, so I would say that that game, if you watch the second period of that game, that's not the way it normally is. That's not going to happen.
That was crack on top of Four
was
Loko.
Bizarre. And it all happened. It just all turned on a dime. You're like, what in the world is going on here? But, Carolina kept putting Tampa Bay in the power play. I'm like, well, you're going to give up a goal. I mean, that's the best power play in hockey, and it's not close. It's a goal. You just gave up a goal. You committed that penalty, you just gave up a goal. Just a matter of seconds. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's unreal how good they are on the power play.
They
Now,
approach PKs in soccer level of success.
It's so ridiculous. It's fun to watch. I'm like, as soon as I see the official's hand go up, I'm like, oop, there's a goal. All right. Normally you're just like, power play. I go, oop, there's a goal. It's amazing. But not just that, though. I mean, Kucherov has just decided, I'm going to win this.
Oh, he's gone crazy, Ivan.
He's gone crazy. And he has been spectacular.
He has been. That last goal is as soft as can be.
What
in the hell? Well, that's Peter Mrazek for you.
But I think the weirdness of that shot, because he doesn't get his feet set, he's falling away. Yeah. It's a weird shot. I think it
he's expecting a rush closer to the net.
Yes. And he's just like, what in the hell? And you're off balance. It was really amazing.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's a weird looking guy too.
So, nonetheless, that was, I watched it all play out in real time. I was just sitting there going, oh, man. So we go from really in a great position to being down 2 goals just like that, and then boom, boom, boom. And you felt like they were inevitable, like they're going to score again. They're going to score again.
Yeah.
It was, how sometimes when we watch basketball or we watch the end of a half in football, you and I will be watching the game together, and if it's happening to our team, if it's happening against our team, we use the analogy, the boxing analogy of hold. You're like, you got to get to the locker room. We've just got to survive this quarter, this half, this, you know it. You watched it. It felt that way for Carolina in that second period. It was kind of like those guys are holding on for dear life. They're going to be lucky they don't give up 7 goals right now in this period. I mean, it's insane.
I'd like to note, too, that the impact of our efforts to ingratiate the NHL to Tallahassee, they are working. They are. Because I'm at a golf event, and it's 4-2, and there's a dramatic finish coming. So I want to go see the finish to our event. Mm-hmm. It's 4-2. I come back in. There's a couple of stragglers who were still in the clubhouse because it was really hot on Saturday, so they needed the AC. And to a man, about 5 or 6 of them, they said, "You need to go back outside." I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, look at the TV, and it's 5-4. Ooh. But they care enough. They were watching. They're like, "It's gone crazy over there." I flipped it on. I was the only person watching. When I come back, they're all watching, and they're saying, "No, you need to leave. Things have gotten really good." I was like, "Well, thank you, guys."
I sat there.
The amount of care for the NHL. I'm just so proud.
Well, we'd score, and I'd yell, and then Christy was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "We just scored." "Oh, awesome." Then we scored again. I'm like, "Oh, just tied it up. Tied it for him." It's like, "Here we go." And then Bryce cares. He loves it. And I'm like, "Hey, son, we just tied it up." And then he goes to walk back down the hall, and he'd gotten some food in the kitchen, and then also, boom, there it is. We got the lead. It happened so fast.
It was bedlam in that building, too.
Oh, man.
There was a lot of decisions being made in South Tampa and on Dale Mabry after that hockey game. I tell you what.
Some bad decisions.
Decisions.
Some poor decisions were being made. Yeah. I think I'm with you on that. Some very poor. Luckily, the bus doesn't come to Amelie.
No, it's not allowed on that part
No,
of
the bus doesn't come
area.
to Amelie. The bus is only outside Raymond James, which this year will be electrifying. I stayed up last night and watched and tweeted about the Bucks kicking Kansas City's ass. I watched that game again last night, late. Sat there watching.
That game was over pretty early. As a fan, you don't ever want to admit, and you know that Mahomes is godly, so
yes,
it can happen. But, I mean,
in retrospect, when you watch it again, you're like, we are kicking their ass. This is dominant. This is like they are not going to block us.
Don't let us play you in a Super Bowl, because if we get there,
that is your ass. It'll take us a long time, but when we do,
it's Yahoo Sports. It's the compliance office.
It's a whooping, baby. The poor Raiders found out, and now all these years later, Kansas City, like, damn. And they're loaded. They're loaded.
Who's next?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting what happens in Green Bay. It's going to be interesting to see the Rams this year, obviously. And then
you never know. You're right, though. That is going to be a hot ticket down there.
Do you realize how – I mean, I went to 2 games this year. Took my boys separate, 1 each. Went to the Chargers game, which in retrospect I'm really glad I went to, and the Vikings game, which if they could have made a field goal, we probably don't win. They couldn't. He missed 100 of them. It was hilarious.
Yeah, we kind of played lousy that day and got away with it. Yeah,
we played terrible. He just kept missing field goals, and it was hilarious. I'm like, oh. And our friend Joey St. Germain, who you guys hear on these airwaves, Dr. Joseph St. Germain. Yeah, I mean, and he's a great sport, but, I saw him before the game and after the game, like, sorry, your guy can't kick. We've been on the wrong end of a million missed kicks.
And they didn't cut him.
No,
I mean, could you imagine that prop bet of saying they wouldn't cut him? You'd probably, you'd cap it off like a $2 bet.
I thought they were going to cut him that night, or the next morning. Like I was going to get up and read that
tarmac. He doesn't get on the plane.
No, you got to cut his ass.
It's not safe for him to be on the plane.
Right. Yeah.
He's on a plane with a bunch of 200.
I was going to use the analogy and bring it back home, but it's the wrong thing to do because one's a pro and the other's an amateur. So I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I would have had a hard time as a teammate here locally.
Oh, man. Really?
Oh, buddy. Come on, man. Don't make me. That's ridiculous. That's Chef Cameron Show 97.9 ESPN Radio. Do any of you have some sort of badass wizardry that you could help out your boy with? I cannot get rid of this golfer's elbow. I know, first world problems. I'm just telling you, this thing hurts all the time. It's ridiculous. And I can't get rid of the pain. Now, I'm not doing anything to help myself. I'm just going to admit that right now. I have done nothing to aid my healing. Nothing. Not one thing. I haven't rested it. I haven't put ice on it. I haven't stopped playing golf. I haven't done anything to help myself.
Got to get the sleeve.
I just want it to magically disappear, and it's not working. This hoping, sending out positive vibes to the universe, it's not working. I need somebody to tell me what the hell to do because it's excruciating. It really does hurt. I'm not kidding now.
Jeff Cameron here for Copperfit.
I'm telling you, I will do some Brett Favre nonsense if that's what it's going to take to get this thing feeling right. It hurts like hell. It hurts just during the day. I move my arm. It just hurts. And I cannot get rid of it. And when you go online and you read about it, they're like, oh, it's on the inside of your arm. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's on the outside. It's over here in your forearm and then right on the elbow itself. Like it feels like somebody's with like a ball peen hammer just ting, 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 ting. It hurts like hell. Mm-hmm. I wake up in the night to switch positions. I'm like, oh, ow. So I flip. My wife's like, what is wrong with you? My elbow. She's like, you're still bitching about your... Yes, I will not go away. Nobody's got time to just rest it for 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. Let's go. There's nothing torn in there. I need something. And they tell you the KT tape or whatever it is. Is that what it's called, KT tape?
Yes.
First of all, I don't know how that stuff works. It just looks like you're putting tape on your arm. I don't know how the hell that works. That's crazy.
So you're doing no research to see if it works at all.
I just think that seems like it's nonsense. But clearly it works because people use
Olympians use it for crying out loud.
I know. I'd like to know. But also, I don't know how to... What, I just put the tape on my elbow like, all right, we should be good.
A little bit of research, and you'll have your answer.
I think it's supposed to, like, flatten the nerve or flatten the muscle or something like that. That's what it does.
I'm sure after a little bit of research, you'll find out.
Well, this is why I'm asking people out there, the kind folks, the listeners of the
He
Jeff
doesn't
Cameron
want to
Show.
use Google, people.
I don't.
He wants you to tell him.
Well, if I type KT tape into Google, good Christ, every pop-up for the next 10 years is going to be, look at us, we've got KT tape. It's going to be everywhere. But that's not why I'm not doing it. I'm just lazy. I don't, when it comes to stuff like this, I am. I want it to go away. I think it's this old school, like, oh, it'll go away. It'll just go away. Just go, handle it. You'll be all right. Hey, listen, you were in pain for years and you kept playing.
Yeah.
I mean, you just keep playing.
That sucks, yeah.
Did it eventually go away?
It flares up. If I play a couple of rounds, I mean, I sound like my dad now. Like, if I play a couple of rounds in short order or I hit 2 or 3 buckets of balls.
It just hurts.
Yeah.
So you have it too?
Yeah, it's under my forearm. It's actually it's like closer to halfway up the arm.
Oh man, mine's right on the elbow and it goes on into the forearm. It's nonsense.
It's been close to 10 years I've had it now. I think hockey was part of it. Hockey was part of it too because you're using the torque as well for that. But I needed to take a leave the one day that we were playing in a tournament.
It made you goofy.
It made me high. Yes,
Which is weird because I take a leave and it's fine. I've never had any. I can't even notice it.
No, I took 2 a leave. I couldn't feel my hands. And so I was basically guessing.
I took 2 a leave on Friday. I feel great. I mean, I just take them.
No, like, 1 Tylenol or a couple of ibuprofen and I'm fine. Yeah, a leave is like, that's the heavy hitter stuff.
Well, I'm telling you now, somebody out there, you got to save me. I'm pleading to the YouTubers now. Send me some sort of magical cure. I did do a little research because the pain is starting to get annoying enough that I'm like, okay, we should maybe look into this. I looked up on my phone and there's this sleeve you can get. Now, that sleeve is $185, and it's supposed to promote better circulation. It heats up the area. It activates it, is what they say. I don't know.
It's also a short order cook. Gets you a quick breakfast.
I don't know. I'm not sure this thing. I'm worried I'm going to buy this thing, and I'm going to get taken to the cleaners.
So let me ask you this. If you hit the ball properly, does it hurt?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's the difference between...
Yes, it hurts all the time.
It can hurt for me if I play too much golf, and no matter what I do,
right.
It's a problem. But typically, if I'm on regular rest, let's call it like I'm in a rotation and pitching, if I hit the ball properly, no problem. But if I mishit it, holy God. It
Searing
radiates from my elbow up to my pinky.
Searing pain.
Yeah. I thought it was something in the bone because that sounds like the ulna.
Sometimes it
but
feels
it's
like
not.
that.
It feels like it's in the bone, but it isn't apparently.
I'm getting angrier about it all the time. And my wife's tired of hearing me talk about it. I talk about it all the time. It's an omnipresent situation in the Cameron household. In the kitchen, looking for some iced tea. God, my elbow.
Yeah. I remember being 8, 9 years old, and I loved when my uncles would come down from New York because it meant we'd have golf days. And the one year he couldn't play, I got tendonitis. I'm like, tendonitis? Get out of here with the tendonitis.
Right.
Flash forward, 25 years. I'm like, well, if he had tendonitis, you needed to back
is
off.
No joke, but I don't want to stop playing.
He had the true inside the elbow thing. It was black.
That can
and
that can require surgery.
Yeah. Yep.
No, we got to get this fixed. Any doctors out there, help me out. Come on. Find my Twitter handle at Jay Cameron Show and send me something or an email. JCS@ESPNRadio.com. Come on. Or just come up to me on the streets and go, Cameron, I got this thing. It's amazing. Whatever it might be.
Black tar heroin.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show. You know, I got to tell you, I went from feeling really bad for Jon Rahm to not at all. Not at all. He chose not to be vaccinated. Oh, there you go. PGA Tour protocols are what they are. Here's the deal. If you're vaccinated on the PGA Tour and it's been over 14 days since your last vaccination, you're not required to be tested once fully vaccinated.
Oh, Jesus.
Your choice. If you want to be an idiot and not get vaccinated, there you go. He accepted the risk, and boom. We'll take that $1.7 million and give it to Patrick Cantlay. Have a good one. That's crazy. I felt terrible for him at first. I really did, because that just was a sad scene to walk off at 18. He's going to win the tournament. There's no chance anybody else wins that tournament but Jon Rahm after he finishes the round on Saturday and shoots a 64. It's a near perfect back nine. He is destroying that course.
You don't foresee putting problems like at the U.S. Open?
No, I don't. He's going to win that tournament without any problem. In fact, they all knew it too. They all knew it. It was over. And
everybody else is playing for a check.
They were like,
and points and Ryder Cup points.
Yeah, dude, it was doffing of the cap. It was like, well, my man just came here to win a tournament this week, and he's going to by a lot. And when they announced it, when they showed, I got to give CBS, it was CBS, right?
Yes.
I got to give them credit. Nance did a good job. That's a tough thing. I tried to put myself in his shoes because they're going to break. Have you seen the footage?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they're going to break, and, they're obviously singing his praises. It's a round that is one of the better rounds ever shot there. I mean, and they're talking about how good he was, and he's walking with his caddy, and the crowd's clapping and all that. And right before they're getting ready to go to break, he sees Jon Rahm buckle over, and he knows that's a tour official talking to him, and he buckles over, and that's when Nance says, "What's going on here? What's going on here?" That, which is a signal to the truck, like, hold on, let's not go anywhere. Now, you cannot wildly speculate at that moment, and what I was fearful of, and in many ways, I'm grateful this is not the case. It's just a case where a guy decided not to get vaccinated, despite what the tour had done to entice the players to do so. Of course, it's your choice. Nobody's saying you don't have the choice. You do have the choice, but this is what happens. There are ramifications to making those choices, the ones that he made. So they at that point, when you see him buckle over, I thought he had just been told somebody in his family
right.
passed
Well, he
away.
just had a newborn.
Well, and that's where I was going. I actually gasped. I went, oh, no. Because I was aware he has a newborn, and the way that he bent over is like he'd been gut punched. But then immediately your head is swimming, and I'm thinking, I don't think they would have told him that on the 18th, off the 18th green. They would have waited till he got.
I didn't see that part of the footage. I saw his reaction. Was it Slugger? Was it the guy Slugger White who's been around with the big bucket hat?
No.
That guy loves the camera. So.
No. This was a tour doctor. He was.
Okay.
It wasn't even
Right.
like that kind of an official. He was a doctor. He came down to talk to him. He's wearing a mask, and he comes down to talk to him. And that was the first thing, because nobody there is wearing a mask because they don't have to be, because they're vaccinated. So anyhow, that guy's wearing a mask. I'm like, that did kind of strike me as odd. And I also saw the reaction of Rahm's caddy. And you're trying to piece things together rapidly in your brain, and you immediately, the first thing you think of is the worst. Like, oh no, I hope that's not a family member. I hope it's not his kid. I hope everything's all right. But then you're trying to quickly make sense of what you're seeing. A, I see he's wearing a mask, and B, the caddy's not flipping out the way you would if your guy just got told that somebody died. You know, I mean, he's just patting him, kind of like, oh, damn. Not like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Let's get him off the course. Not like that. He just kind of patted him. So knowing what we now know, that he informed the officials there that he had come in contact with somebody that had COVID.
Right.
So he told them when he arrived on Monday. They said then that you're subject to contact tracing and you have to be tested every single day you're here. Fine. He agrees to that, right? He says, sure, understandable. So he gets tested. He passes the test on Monday, passes on Tuesday, passes on Wednesday, passes on Thursday, passes on Friday. Saturday, they get the announcement. The PGA Tour gets the results back at 4-something o'clock that test was tagged as positive. they don't immediately do anything because they want to retest it. There are false positives, and you're not. I mean, the man's finishing his round. They're not going to go out there in the middle of the round without.
Yeah, and tell him, well, your second test is coming back.
Yeah. What? Yeah, right. So they choose to hold off and let him finish the round.
The USGA would do that, though. USGA is like, we're not sure. Could be a 6, could be a 3.
Right.
We'll let you know.
Right. So what ended up happening is they demand the second test, and I mean the follow up, and they do that, and and then at 6:05 it comes back as a positive again. Now they got to tell him. Now that's it. It's over. So that's the timing. That's why people were saying, well, why'd they do that? Why'd they let him walk off the 18th green? Why didn't they tell him before if they got the test earlier? Because they were running a second test. They wanted a second confirmation. And then also, they weren't going to let him walk into the scorer's tent. So that's why they met him there. Like, no, dude, you straight up have COVID. No, you can't go in there. That's why they met him there. So, because the PGA got knocked a little bit for that. And now that I realize what we know was that, A, he had put himself in a compromising position.
They had known that this could happen.
Right. So, I mean, it stinks. I hate it. I mean, listen, if he has a legitimate reason other than it's an affront to my rights, if he had a legitimate reason for not getting the vaccination, I suppose, then I feel for him. I mean, if not, well, hey, man, tough choice.
That's a costly one.
It's completely preventable.
Yeah. Well,
it's completely preventable.
To a 94, 96%.
96, over 96%, yes. And, oh, by the way, it would have been 100% preventable, Tom, in this case, because they wouldn't have tested him. So even if he was one of the small percentage of people that they wouldn't have known it.
Asymptomatic, no problem.
They wouldn't have known it. So, no, it was completely preventable. And, by the way, he got a vaccination when he got there on Monday.
Oh, Jesus. So he didn't have a medical reason to not get the vaccination.
No, yes. Originally, I wondered that. I'm saying. Sorry. I wondered, I was like, okay.
You know, that is troubling. Because if he did concede to a vaccination on Monday.
That's what I read. I read that, yes.
If that is in fact true, protecting ourselves, of course, he was just in the hospital with his wife and his newborn not a month ago. I mean,
and luckily none of them.
But you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's because you got a close contact on a Monday of a tournament at the Memorial that's going to be the breaking point. Not I'm going to the hospital with my wife for my newborn to be entering into the world.
Knows, dude, who knows? It's a crazy time.
That's a little troubling.
It's a crazy time that we're living in.
Like that's the reason. You would think if there would be a reason, it would be a wife and child rather than bleep.
Mm-hmm. No, that
Jimmy had the Rona.
Yeah. That whole situation is really problematic.
You know, I've been getting around to it.
But, it's he could have prevented this. So I went from feeling awful for that guy to, screw you, man. I mean, it still sucks. But the rules are in place before the tournament starts. So, like, the people that are going to say, well, they should have let him go out by himself the next day. He could have gone out the next morning at 7 o'clock, played by himself, wore a mask, and it wouldn't have mattered. Well, yeah, but the rules were in place before the tournament started. You don't just make it up as you go along. You know, just decide, oh, well, for you, because you have the lead, we're going to change our protocol. All the guys know the rules going in. They all know it.
Yeah. And
so, I mean, that's the deal. That's what they're abiding by. They have agreed to it. You know, it stinks. It stinks. It's just And what stinks about it, too, poor Patrick Cantlay after that tournament, he's answering questions. He knows damn well he wasn't going to win that tournament. That stinks. Like, for the rest of your life, there's a little asterisk next to that one, Patrick. You know, I mean, people are going to be like, oh, that's right, you won the Memorial. Well, you kind of won the Memorial. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. I hope you had a great weekend. What a busy time. What a busy time right now with the NBA playoffs, the softball team kicking ass, surviving. Not going to lie, I was blowing Z's when they won that game that started at 3 o'clock or ended at 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever the hell that was. I was long done. But I woke up smiling when I saw it. Went, all right. But what an absurd situation. And no situation ever which should you have the pinnacle of your event being played at 3 o'clock in the morning. That should never happen. That's just stupid. And but it did happen. And kudos to those ladies who have been so resilient. We'll watch them tonight, and this will be fun. And obviously, I love the fact that we get to watch them with no distractions because our Bolts aren't playing until tomorrow, so that's good news. And then in addition to that, they're just so eminently likable. They just get every ounce of what they have out of this team collectively. They just find a way. It is so cool to watch. And it stands opposite of what we saw from our baseball team. Knowles eliminated, talked about it earlier in the show, just not a likable baseball team right now. They just don't make contact really ever. If they do, they hit a home run, especially if it's Lacey at the plate, who's really, I think, exciting moving forward. That kid's got some what for to him, and I like him. But, this lineup is a poor lineup filled with guys who just simply can't hit. And that's hard to watch. But I think more than that, and this is what I said to start the show, I'm so effing tired of watching a baseball team that can't pick up the baseball in the biggest moments of their seasons. They just don't pick it up. And they make errors that are just ridiculous, and they make it even harder on themselves to win baseball games. And the Nander error, and I know he didn't mean to do it, and I know he feels terrible, and I understand he's a good kid. None of this is personal. But it's a horrible error. It's an embarrassing error. Errors happen, but they really happen when you stand straight up and rush it like Carl Lewis is running down first baseline instead of a guy that's missing an ACL. So that's just not having an understanding of a situation. And that really is costly, and that's poor baseball. That's just poor. You've got to know the situation. We talk about this all the time. I mean, if you're standing in the outfield, if you're standing anywhere on the diamond, and you have a one-run lead late in a game, and you get what you need, you get that ground ball in, you got to understand who was at the plate, who's running, how much time you have. That's especially true if you're a shortstop. Those kinds of things compound the frustration. It's not just, if that kid would have walked up there and hit a 3-run bomb or something, you go, okay, we walked 2 batters. You put yourself in a bad situation when you begin walking people, then you give up the homer, you doff the cap. You'd say, okay, no big deal. But he didn't. He had a measly ground ball to short that's an easy play because that kid can't run, and you throw it into Suffolk County. And the next thing you know, you're losing, and you're not going to come back because you can't get hits because you strike out all the time. There it is.
Yeah, reminds me of the talking points before they went out to South Bend, the dump of a town, and took 2 or 3 from Notre Dame. And that was, if you can avoid errors in a given weekend, we can beat anybody.
Can beat anybody because we do hit the long ball and we can pitch.
And that's where, in this instance, it's a regional weekend. I was more scared of a regional than I was a super because you're playing more games in theory.
Oh, I like this in a super, actually, oddly, despite all of these foibles I just described.
Right, agreed. Yeah, I was more afraid of this weekend than I was the next weekend because you line us up 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think we're going to handle business to take 2 out of 3. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we've done this year.
And we made 1 error in that series against Notre Dame. 1
Correct.
in 3 games.
Correct.
And we won the series.
And you needed it.
That's correct. And here's the deal. Everything lined up fine. You win the first game with the long ball. You play good baseball by and large.
They self-destruct because that a-hole of an ace.
Right. God, that guy. But, yeah.
What an ass.
Yeah, complete ass. But there you go. Okay, it happens. And now you've got the lead late. You're in command. You're in command.
If he doesn't change his stripes, by the way, in 20 years, he's going to be the guy that gets knocked out at Walmart because he's mad at the cashier.
Yeah.
That's who that guy's going to be.
Yeah. And that'll be great.
It'll be a great video for everybody to enjoy.
To laugh at. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absurd.
But yes, the more games you play, the more different teams you play, your weaknesses are going to rise to the surface. Your vulnerabilities will come to the surface. Now, we were able to survive that in our first game because we start out the gate with 2 errors.
Oh yeah, right. I mean,
Jesus.
Yeah.
And that 2-0 lead felt like 50-0, but we found a way to come back and win that game partially because their pitcher imploded on himself. But if it keeps happening, I mean, good God, yes, we don't have Buster Posey followed by Jack Rye, followed by James Ramsey and Devin Travis in the lineup. You got a bat or two, and that's about it.
Yeah, you got Matthew Nelson. That's what you got. That's about what you got. And
Cabell every once in a while, Lacey every once in a while.
Yeah.
The Martins every once in a while.
Well, Cabell with 15 bombs and hit close to 300. He did have a good year. Now he
surged at the end.
Yeah, his outs are strikeouts. I mean, they are largely strikeouts. So he adds to the collection of strikeouts that are the weight of those strikeouts are enormous. It just feels like God Almighty. It just the inability to put the ball in the play. It's unbelievable. It's staggering. It's staggering.
We're in a better place than Florida is, though.
Well, that was something. And I've got to say, and this is completely speculative on my part, I have no inside knowledge. I don't care. I don't know Sully, as they call him, O'Sullivan. I don't know. This is me on the air, irresponsibly speculating. But the way they played and the way that they got brutalized, and I'm not just talking about 19-1. I mean, losing to USF, Thanks for hosting the regional. My God, that was a short-lived experience for them. That looked like a team that didn't want to be there. That looked like a team that maybe didn't play for their coach. That looked like a team that kind of was going through the motions. I don't want to take anything away from South Alabama, but
19-1 is different.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here? With that pitching staff, what are you guys, what the hell? So
at least we have deficiencies.
Yeah, we can identify.
You shouldn't have a deficiency of 19 runs.
Oh, my goodness.
That would be like us losing a game, 2-0, perfect game for the other team, 27 Ks. That's akin to how stunning it is for that pitching staff to not be able to get 27 outs, or in this case 24, I think, because I think South Alabama was the home team in that game. I'm not entirely sure about that. Yeah. But 19 runs before you get 24 or 27 outs with that staff.
No, I felt like it was batting practice. It was really strange. I don't know. That is well, they have to deal with it. But where I was going with this is that you just wonder. We'll see. That LSU job's open. We'll just have to take a gander. We'll see. Totally speculative. I don't know why you would leave Florida where you just won a national championship and go somewhere. So that just it could be irresponsible on my part. But man, that felt funny. Sometimes you watch things play and you go, when Urban Meyer got blown out here, we were down on the field, and everything about that felt like there's no chance that dude is coming back.
Well, what was crazy about it is that's a close game in the first half. It's the fourth down fake punt that we stop, and then it's Ponder to Rodney Smith next play.
Mm-hmm.
The game's still close on the scoreboard, but it didn't feel that way.
Didn't feel close at all, and they started infighting, and you were hearing stuff on the sidelines that, listen, I get it, but as you move up in ranks, the stuff you hear on sidelines, you just chalk up to in the heat of battle. But then there are things that you hear where you go, oh, no, that's not normal. That guy just told his head coach to go F himself and pushed his arm away as he walked to the bench.
Right.
That's not normal. That doesn't happen.
No, it's the kind of thing that we saw here during the end of the Jimbo tenure, when you have assistant coaches shouting each other down in front of the players.
Having to be separated.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when you know, okay, well, it's all on Front Street. We're out here just showing everybody our ass. This is embarrassing. That's kind of where Florida was that day. It felt a little bit, to me, like something was going on there.
I had no idea that had happened because I was in a golf event. I get there. It's time to watch the Knowles. The baseball game's about to come on. And I am told by our friend Bill, the owner of the CP, 19-1. I go, he's a dry humor guy. I'm like, BS, man. What are you talking about, 19-1? He's like, no, I'm not kidding you. It's 19-1. South Alabama? Yes, South Alabama.
Yes. Well, my favorite part about the indignity of getting beat 19-1 in your own regional
by USA
is the fact that there was a long rain delay. Well, it was 14-1. So you had.
See, I didn't know that either.
They had to wear it.
Oh,
they had to sit there and wait it out so they could go back out there and get more runs put on them. And then Miami got told to suck it as well.
Yeah.
That is glorious.
Yeah. We will always remember the 2021 Gainesville Regional.
It's the greatest regional of all time.
It really is.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say is, not a great week for the state of Florida. in terms of baseball. I mean, that's a toughie. Florida State, Florida, Miami, grand opening, grand closing. You guys get the hell up out of here. Good week for USF. But man, I don't know. I'm wanting to see. I'll tell you what. I guess the bigger picture. This is what I was going to get at, because in the opener of the show, I released some of my frustrations, and every time we bring up the subject, I get angrier and angrier. But if I can take a step back and just note, Tom, that the grand slam that Tennessee hit. Have you seen the replay?
No.
You didn't see the pimp job walk-off grand slam?
No.
Oh, it's something. But anyhow, that atmosphere is unreal. The atmosphere at Ole Miss. Those fans out in the stands getting after it. Fayetteville. Look around at these. We have been passed over. We are passed over. This feels dead. Now, that's an unfair thing to some extent to say, but it's not new. I've been bitching about this for a while. Now, COVID was the big reason for most of this. That stadium's half empty.
Yes, and last year's team would have seen raucous crowds you would have seen raucous crowds in May, June, or I should say April, May at Dick Howser Stadium, because that team was nasty. They could pitch. He got screwed that year.
He did get screwed. And I think they'll be okay. I don't want to paint a picture that the world is ending. But boy, everything about it felt flat and dead. And then when you juxtapose it to what you see all around the country in these other regionals, also, I was thinking about it because we were talking about this on Headlines last week, and Corey and I were talking. There's no reason when you pull up statistically these other rosters, like when you're looking at Southern Miss, for example, because remember we were going to do a preview, and we were looking at Southern Miss's roster. Why are they hitting so much better than us? Southern Miss. Why are they hitting so much better than us? Frankly, why is everybody hit so much better than us? I mean, you just go. That's just weird. And so I think I'm confused, frustrated, and saddened. And then when I think about the way it's set up, the outfields and these SEC schools, and I remember when Eric Llewellyn was on the road a couple years ago, various ACC venues, he sent me a text. And, of course, all we want is for Florida State baseball to be great, because it has been great. It has been one of the preeminent programs in all of college baseball. It is something to behold. It is. There aren't too many names you're going to call before you call Florida State's name when you think about great baseball programs in college. So when you kind of get taken aback when you go to these other schools that don't have those traditions, and you go, well, this atmosphere is better than ours, and this stadium is worlds better than ours. That's frustrating.
Well, you can't change the stadium, but you can change the atmosphere. You can do that quick. You can install some stuff in left field. The problem is you might have to move one of the bullpens, and that gets really logistically crappy. That you would have to combine the bullpens to right field,
out, though.
And then in left you add an area where people can do what they do at Ole Miss. I mean, they're setting up their own outdoor chairs, for crying out loud, too. It's just
it looks so fun.
Yes, it does.
Oh, I mean, it's so inviting for the students to come to the games. I mean, walk up, BYOB, everybody, have a good one.
Right.
We're not checking. Do whatever you want to do out here. There's dudes out there doing lines of cocaine, guys doing a keg stand. They're lighting fires. Woo! Throwing up beer up in the air. I mean, this place is crazy. There's a den of iniquity out here in right field. They're going nuts. I'm not, guys, being facetious to some extent. They are. To
some extent. They are throwing beer
Yes,
in there.
it is a giant party.
Yeah.
It is a giant party. Kyle, what's his face, made me laugh when they showed the dude holding the Coke bottle out there. Did you see that fat guy?
No.
So the Ole Miss fan standing out there, he's holding a full liter of Coca-Cola. It's 3/4 empty. And the play-by-play announcer goes, well, he's got like a whole bottle of Coke there or something. And Kyle goes, I'm leaning towards or something. Dude had a huge beard. He's just sucking down a liter of Coke out the outfield. I'm leaning towards or something. Yeah.
That doesn't smell like soda if you get near him.
It was something to behold. John Pack went and won everything. Have you seen the list of things that he won? Congratulations,
yes.
John Pack. I mean, you are such a wonderful ambassador for Florida State athletics. Congratulations to that young man. Just a quality individual, somebody we could all be proud of, just like we're proud of this softball team. And I would also say, banner weekend and week really build up to it for Mike Norvell and his staff. They're getting out of this what they can. Now that the dead period is over, they're getting everything they can out of this. And, man, countless kids that you see online just rave about their experiences coming here. And the in-person, the mega camp, in-person stuff that's going on right now is something to behold.
He's doing everything he possibly can to ingratiate himself to the state, make up for lost time in so many different ways.
It's unbelievable, man. High school coaches are loving him.
You feel the long-term assembly line has been fortified and the pipeline is created. However, you cannot open that assembly line until you do some things in the short term. Everything that could be done for the long-term success of this program, I think, is being done. You just need to not fall all over yourself between now and, say, December.
Just go 6-6.
Yeah.
Go 6-6 and don't get blown out by teams that are any good. You know, most of the time when we play somebody who's pretty good, we get blown the hell out. Be competitive, fight, hang in there. Let us know that you're losing games, not because you don't know what you're doing and not because they're, fractured, but you're just not good enough. That's fine. If you're just not good enough, you don't run fast enough, jump high enough, we don't have enough depth at this position or that position. All right, so if it's just about the dudes, okay, we'll get the dudes. But do everything else right. Do everything else right and hang in there and be together and fight like hell, and we'll support you, and that's fine. And I think that's where we're headed. I really do. I believe that. Now, we won't know until the fall comes, and Nick can't get here soon enough because I'm anxious to see it. But man, when you see the feedback, when you got over 3,000 kids coming in here and you've got 50 different colleges in here and you got high school coaches all over the place bringing their kids up here, that is a really good sign.
Yeah, agreed. The one thing I'd say that, and listen, they met with the kid personally. I'm looking at photos and I'm hearing and reading reports from recruiting experts, so they know the kid better. But the only thing that hasn't sat well with me in the last, 6 months of what they've done is recent. It's last week when I was talking about I can't read my damn Twitter feed to get sports news for the show because Dillingham is retweeting Cain Madden to tally.
And then he goes to Notre Dame.
Well, no, just read the room. He doesn't seem like a kid who cares about that. From all the reports from whatever insider you want at Notre Dame, Florida State, across multiple networks, Cain Madden is not about the glitz. He did not need the extra attention. He wants to make the most informed decision he can for the bottom line, which is development and the NFL prospects.
Well, okay, so
what the hell does a Twitter hashtag have anything to do with that? That's about the only thing, though, that sat wrong with me this whole time.
Well, can I just say this? I mean, it's not surprising we didn't get him. I mean, if we're being honest about this, Notre Dame churns out NFL linemen on the regular. That's what they do. The best offensive lineman in football, Quentin Nelson, damn what could have been. Anyhow, from Notre Dame, they've had countless others get drafted in the last 5 years. They're like Georgia and Texas A&M and Alabama that are just churning out offensive linemen. At the end of the day, this kid was a second-team All-American, right? It sucks for us, but the bottom line is I love Coach Atkins more than most. I'm just telling you, you're not getting a kid like that right now. He wants to go to the NFL. He wants to be drafted in the first round. He's going to go to a place where they have the pedigree. We don't.
Right. Pedigree mattered more than schedule to him because he could have put more film out there against better opponents if he came here, and he would have been guaranteed the playing time. So that's not a bad pitch. But it tells you the strength of that pitch is still not as good
it's not good enough.
The cachet of Notre Dame.
Well, they've done it, though. They've done it. They've put the kids in the league,
right.
And we're not doing that. We have not done it. Think about the linemen. Where are they in the league from Florida State? Rodney Hudson. You got to go back.
Hudson.
You got to go way the hell back, though.
That's
Irving.
What I mean. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So that's the whole thing, and so I'm not mad at them for that. It was a pipe dream. We were hoping.
Right. I'm just saying, I don't think that kid's going to be moved. He might even be turned off by that. Really, thanks for the Twitter hashtag.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But
how about Cain Madden makes money after going to Florida State? Hashtag Cain Madden makes money.
Oh, man. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Quick in this way, Tom and I were laughing during the break that he said 5 years ago the version of him could not recognize this version because this weekend he watched a lot of softball and the Women's U.S. Open in golf. And I said, well, frankly, the softball was more compelling than our baseball. And I'm with you on the U.S. Open. I watched more of that than the Memorial. Because I couldn't keep my eyes off of Lexi Thompson choking again in a most disastrous way. It's completely uncomfortable. Did you see the quotes from Brandel Chambly on this?
No, I couldn't bring myself to.
Well, no, they were good. He first guessed it. He said it was going to happen.
Did he really?
Yes.
It's their channel. Typically, analysts can be a little more aggressive when it's not their coverage, but they're staying on the same network, Golf Channel, NBC. Wow, that's bold.
He said about her, I don't think she could have built up a big enough lead to feel comfortable. He said that on the postgame show because they asked him about what he had said earlier on Golf Channel Live, where he said, I'll read the quote, when she missed that first eagle putt. So this is interesting. She misses the eagle putt, and he says about her, she's got 6 feet. Now, professional golfers don't miss the center of the face by a pinhead. Look
Right.
where she hit that putt to on the very first hole. Look where this putt comes off the face.
Yeah, yes.
She would have missed the center of the putter there by a half an inch. I have never, ever in my life seen a professional golfer miss the center of the putter by a wider margin than what she just did. That's the first hole. And sure, she birdies it. That's as bad a putt as you'll ever see. When you miss a putt and you miss the center of the face on the first hole of a major in the final round by that much, look, obviously you're nervous. If you miss the middle of the face by this much, and he gestures and shows like a quarter of an inch, it feels horrible to you. You can feel it all the way through your body. You know how bad you missed it. You miss it by that much, and then he shows like a fraction of an inch. All pros know they missed it. They can tell the sound and the feeling in their hands. You think to yourself, what just happened here? What am I doing? I mean, honestly, how short does the putt really need to be for her to make it? Then analyst Paige McKenzie jumped in and said, okay, well, and was trying to calm him down. And he goes, no, look, it needed to be practically in the hole. She can't make a putt anymore. He just goes on. It's like, yeah. He basically said she has no chance to hold this lead. And she almost held on because nobody came to get her.
Right.
They were all falling to pieces around her, which makes this even worse because she has a 5-stroke lead with 8 holes to play. They all fell to pieces. The eventual winner started with a double.
Yeah, it all started with a chip for her. It's amazing what can really
11.
break you. Like, I get the putts thing because even I know she's quirky with her swing. There's like a loop to it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But some of the putts from 3-4 feet were sliced. They were Billy Mayfair.
Yeah, they're cut across.
Right.
Oh, I can't watch it. It makes me uncomfortable. What are you doing?
It's like watching my dad putt. I'm not trying to be mean to him.
No, yeah.
But he was lefty, but they only had right-handed clubs, so he's all screwed up with like hand-eye coordination. So if we're in a scramble, I can't watch him putt because it's not going to teach me a damn thing. He's putting English on the ball.
It's like a pool cue.
Right, yes, he's putting English on the ball. That's what it was like watching her.
I can't stand it. I can't. And then to watch it get worse and worse, and it's just a slow burn, and you're going, oh, no, you're going to do this. You're going to give this tournament away. You just gave it away.
Well, she had it on 17, so she got screwed on the second shot because the lie was terrible. She could only advance at 30, 40 yards.
Right.
It's a $150 in. Now, that's 7-iron, 6-iron at worst, if the wind's blowing in. She hits it a long way.
Yeah.
And she hits it. She thinks it's stuck cold. I mean, 5
she's
feet.
a club and a half off.
And she's like, oh, it's going to be perfect. And then, she's, 20 yards short. And she even said to her caddy, how stupid do I look? Because I thought I had stuck that. So if you're not connected to the universe, that's a problem.
No, that's, I don't want to watch tournaments with her anymore. I hope she gets it righted because this is going to be a nightmare. She's going to be getting therapy for a long time. That was a collapse of epic proportions. Like if that happens to DeChambeau, we're all laughing today. Because he's an ass.
Yeah.
But that's not.
No, she's been a prodigy. Like the weight of the world has been on her shoulders for more than half her life. She's 26. She played in the U.S. Open at 12.
Yeah, she competed at a high level and won tournaments at 16.
Right. Damn
it, man. That's just hard to watch.
Payroll Services is Tallahassee owned for nearly 15 years, and in that time, their prices have never changed. The reason North Florida Payroll Services can do that? Exceptional customer service that constantly evolves with the latest technology. From application to termination, for turnkey service for your payroll and HR services, trust a Tallahassee expert and save yourself time and money. North Florida Payroll Services, online at northfloridapayroll.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-inspired. 2 Tallahassee locations. For more information, head to orangetheoryfitness.com today to start your journey.
Shall be cleaning all the windows.
Nice choice. By the way, before we get to probables, you see the adjustments now of Major League Baseball's. We knew this was coming. But obviously nobody in baseball can hit right now, and it's alarming. So here we go. They're trying to figure out what to do. Now, for a while, we've been talking about the strikeout. Lord knows, if you don't like the strikeout, then you've had nothing short of a running kick to your cojones for some time if you're a fan of Florida State baseball, married with what's happening in Major League Baseball. God forbid you root for one of those teams that loves to strike out in Major League Baseball more than the most, more than the average. All you see are strikeouts. You're so damn tired of a strikeout, it doesn't move you in any way, shape, or form anymore. You'd like to see anything but a strikeout.
It moves you to the Stanley Cup playoffs is what it does.
Yeah, but I mean, that's especially true if you're watching Florida State baseball, where they love to strike out. It's like an art form of striking out. Every which way to Sunday. Swinging at balls, bouncing to the plate, staring at balls grooved belt high down the heart. Lots of ways to strike out for Florida State. They've explored them all. But as it pertains to Major League Baseball, the batting average is now league-wide below 230. This is a toughie. We have got some issues. Well, it dipped into the 230s. It's projected to continue to move downward as we're watching the current trends and averages. So the discussion prior has been, is this the shift? Is it launch angles? Is it everybody can throw 100? Is it the composition of the baseball? Which, by the way, year to year, players and coaches do seem to think feels different. That should never happen. Nobody in the NFL says the football feels different this year. The football is the football. Why are we forever having the players, the people who participate in the game of baseball, former players, managers, current players, all the pitchers, say, yeah, ball feels different this year than it did last year. And like tangibly, they'll tell you, here's how it's different. Stop doing that.
Yeah, really, outside of major equipment changes in the NBA, the only other example I can think of is soccer, because they have a different ball for every World Cup. Mm-hmm. And they're like, it does different things with the action that you can put on it, the spins you can put on it. But in major American sports, you really don't hear it very often. No. And it's also now, they think, the stuff that pitchers are putting on that baseball. The baseball that they say feels different. Well, it is different by the time it gets to the catcher's glove. And that's part of the problem, because spin rate became what they figured out was the deal. That even if you made contact, you can't hit it anywhere. And it also breaks more than it ever used to, because they have figured out how to get spin rate at an all-time high. Turns out they figured out how to do that, not just from launch angle, if you will, or release point, but the stuff they're putting on the baseball that makes it move in a way that a baseball never used to move. And now hitters who have long since said, hey, man, you try to hit it. You guys are getting mad at us striking out left and right. You should see it's a wiffle ball. The thing, and that's interesting, because I saw a game a week ago. It was a Rays game. It was a midweek game. I was flipping around and the Rays were on, and I'm like everybody else. I'll stop, watch an at-bat, see the score, whatever it is. And I don't remember which reliever it was, but somebody for the Rays threw a pitch that I thought I'd never seen before in Major League Baseball. It did this crazy whippity-doo thing and caught the left corner, and I was like, oh, my God, who's that? Who's this person throwing that? And I think maybe I've been in tune with this. There's heightened awareness with this, just reading articles about how, pitchers have admitted they have figured out how to create spin rate
in a way that they never thought possible. And then you guys all heard about the sticky stuff, as they call, literally that's what they call it, the sticky stuff. And that's apparently been used rampantly. And they doctor the ball, and it's kind of the new steroids. You know, every hitter could hit the ball oppo for a long time there, and we were all like, this is curious. I've got middle infielders hitting 28 home runs, and I'm not sure he caught that one off the end of his bat, but it just went 395 in the alley. So this is a problem. And they've tried to make adjustments accordingly. That's where we're at with pitching right now, and the league actually now acknowledges it. The league is now saying, well, we have to do something about this. We have recently retired pitchers saying 80 to 90% of pitchers utilize the sticky stuff to create the spin rate that we're seeing now, and that, in essence, you can't do anything with it. It's hard to hit, period. If you do hit it, good luck. And so Major League Baseball announced that they are going to do something about it, and there are going to be some suspensions, and umpires are going to have the freedom to check pitchers in between innings frequently. And, in fact, they're being encouraged to do so. So this made me laugh. The Twins' Josh Donaldson said recently about Garrett Cole, specifically called out Garrett Cole. Is it a coincidence that Garrett Cole's spin rate numbers went down after 4 minor leaguers got suspended for 10 games? And this is what he said in The Athletic. And he went on to say, is that possible? He called him out, called several other pitchers out that he's noticed spin rate changes now that the league is hyper-focusing and they've had to do different. So I'm kind of curious because umpire checks 2 times a start are now going to happen, usually as they're walking off the mound. So they don't want to gum up pace of play. So as you're walking off the mound, an umpire is going to check you twice a game. And if they're caught, 10-day suspension without pay right off the bat. Caught more than once, it gets lengthier until you're gone for the year. So it goes back to what they used to do with pine tar for hitters and rosin. And you know, that happened for a very long time. They would mix it with sunscreen and do all these different things.
Yeah, bullfrog.
Yeah. That allowed them to grip a ball. Donaldson alluded to umpires and baseball lawmakers having turned a blind eye to it. By all indications, that's about to change apparently this week. They're going to announce, MLB is going to announce this week that they are going to have rules in place now to end this. Curious, they got to do something.
Well, it has to start somewhere. It's been going on forever and a day, down to the wink, wink, nod, nod of why is the middle of his bill, of his cap, all
Black.
brown?
Yeah, what's going on
right?
there?
Like, what's
Yeah.
up with that? It does need to start somewhere, and it's funny because it's like the best laid plans. The original talking point of the bullfrog was that the hitters were okay with it because it kept pitchers with
From
high
hitting
velocity
their
from
head.
hitting their head.
Yeah.
Right. It was like a safety thing, but now it has been harnessed, I guess, to increase spin rate to a place where people like Garrett Cole can go from extremely good to otherworldly good, unlike Jacob deGrom, who's just naturally great. You know, that's the thing.
Naturally.
There are real aces. Well, I mean, his spin rate hasn't diminished. In fact, he's hitting 102 these days. It's amazing the things that Jacob deGrom's been able to do, unlike that fraud Garrett Cole in the Bronx.
Please continue to rip Garrett Cole because he found this spin rate after he left Pittsburgh.
Exactly right. And so what we'll find here in the coming months is who are the real aces. DeGrom will be there. Garrett Cole might still have a really nice 2.80 or 3.20 ERA, but it won't be the great stuff that the Yankees signed him to do. And they're struggling anyway as a franchise. So this will be a fun development to see. Mightily, yes. And they were kind of screwed last night. Not kind of, totally screwed on the strike 3 call with the bases loaded first and third. Did you see that call last night in the 9th?
I did not see it, no. They got
So
screwed.
ESPN even put up, they took the time to break from their podcast to show the K-zone because they have that Prism K-zone thing.
Right.
It lines the other batter's box. It's not even close.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And it was 3-2, runners on first and third in a tie ball game, bottom of the 9th. It's a breaking ball that didn't break away. It wasn't a lefty going across the plate. No, it was a righty. It was Greg Maddux in 1999.
Isn't that great? Couldn't happen to a better franchise. What a tragedy.
We'll see what happens with Cole's spin rate.
That's a toughie. I'd love to give you the probables, but I'm going to throw my computer into the river as I cannot get these probables to appear on my phone or my computer at this point in time. This is where we're at.
So your phone is not doing it.
So
now,
we've got some issues going on in here, everybody. That's what we got.
I mean, I could try and pinch it with probables, but that's kind of sacrilege, isn't it?
Can you hold up your phone and I'll read off of your phone? Won't that be fun? Here you go. You guys on YouTube, you get a treat here. Here you go. I'm going to stand up.
Wait a minute. All right.
Pull.
How good are your eyes?
Oh, pretty damn good. I got my contacts in.
All right. So I'm going to pull up the scores on the MLB At Bat app.
All you do is go to MLB.com, and you'll see it says probables, or you're going to schedule pictures. There you go. Buddy, this is – we cannot say goodnight.
All right.
Here we go. Look at this. Going to stand up. There you go.
Well, I got to hit the music real quick. Let me
Go ahead. Here. This is the dedication to probables.
Well, we love you, North Florida Payroll. That's what this is about.
Oh, our heart.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching probables?
Brought to you by North Florida Payroll Services. North Florida Payroll Services, locally owned for nearly 15 years, offering payroll and HR services, including full online applicant onboarding and integration into payroll. Save your company money and headaches today. Head to northfloridapayroll.com.
Man, we did this for 3 games. There are 3 games on the slate tonight.
Well, that'll be easy for me to read then. Here you go. Stretching. Okay. All right, that's, I'm going to need to grab the phone. Watch this. Here, hockey. Give me hockey news.
All right. So it's 2-2 in the Colorado series. They're playing Vegas. That's been a home ice, wins every game so far. If you're betting on something for Game 5 back in Denver, bet on Colorado to win the game. Just bet the money line. I think you can get good odds at this point. That is a home ice final change series. It's a really technical thing in hockey, but when you want matchups, you better be on home ice. So there you go. Game 5, pick Colorado. That comes your way tomorrow, I do believe. That's the best series so far in this round.
All right. See how we made it work?
Kinda. I could have been better.
No, you were fine. Marlins, Red Sox. Red Sox just swept the Yanks in the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. First time in 10 years that's happened.
Is that so?
That is so.
I feel like they've been owning the Yankees' ass for 20 years
Yeah,
now.
well, it's a beautiful thing. Marlins, TBD. Red Sox going to throw Pavetta. Royals, Angels. Kawar versus Bundy. And finally, Cubs, Padres. Alzolay and Weathers, your matchup. That is a look at those that shall reside on the bump.
One other thing to note as I get my phone back, the Lightning and Carolina were playing every other night, except this time around. So the good news is, if you want to tune into Florida State softball tonight, 7 p.m. as the Noles look to go to the World Series championship round, best of 3.
Yeah.
You don't have to compete with Lightning hockey. Their game is tomorrow, 6:30 p.m., Game 5 in the series. I like us to close it out.
Oh, in Carolina?
Yeah, I do. Because now they got goalie problems.
Yeah, they do. They got goalie problems. Really quickly, we said it earlier in the show and we talked about it, but is there anything better than this softball team? This softball team. It is. It's not just the resilience, it's the zeal with which they play.
Yep.
They are really something to behold. They're likable. They're tough as hell.
Smart.
They've played over their heads here for a stretch. This team was not the team that won the national championship a couple of years ago. They probably should be dead by now, but they just have so much damn heart.
Well, and they have it in them, though. That's the thing. The lineup has it in them to do much better than they're doing, but they're patching it together.
They're finding a way.
Think about it. It's the at-bat, the 2 runs last night. So it's the at-bat to work a walk. I mean, look how you have to see the zone beautifully, and Cheryl did. And then you have the double stretch into a triple. The base running by Morgan paves the way for the Muffley hit to put them up 2-0. But you have to be alert. You're not looking at your base coach. You're looking out in the outfield.
Sees that it's bobbled.
Is it a clean exchange or not? Is it picked up cleanly? She's on third base.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a play by Morgan. Those 2 things are the difference. It's all the details, right? Championship teams get those details correct.
Well, and it's a tough look for men's baseball to then to be juxtaposed to what we see with the softball, because what you're talking about is being heady and aware and paying attention to the finer things, the little things that can make all the difference. I mean, listen, I've already talked about it, but Nander's error to lose the game against Southern Miss, or Ole Miss, is such a terrible error. It's not just that he threw it into next week. I mean, sweet Jesus.
Yeah, it's not even close.
It's not. I mean, it's a really horrific throw. It's that he's flying to do it, and the man running down the line is crippled. He has no ACL. He's become this guy that they love in the stands because he's playing on a knee with no ACL. He barely gets to. He can't even make it to first. Nader could have jogged the ball over to first base. So it's just so dumb. Everything about it.
Well, then take a look at the ground ball late in the game last night, the third, and Sherrill bobbles it, stays with it, keeps composure, fires across, gets her by a half a step. But there's a difference between panicking and collecting yourself.
And panicking, why? This was just not, he just didn't have any idea who was at the plate and who was running to first. None. This is something you would know before the play comes to you. Not us. And I'll tell you what, save for about 2 innings in this postseason, Florida State didn't look good at any point. They didn't look good fielding the ball. They couldn't pick up the baseball at all during Messick's start. It's ridiculous. They never pick up the baseball.
So what's funny is behind the scenes, this has been a slow burn. I've heard you talk like this. You have said now they do some things on the road that are good, so we'll see. But for about 2 to 3 weeks, you have been waiting to unload. I just
don't. I'm sad. I'm just sad because I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in the sense that, look, it's just too easy for people to say, oh, here's the problem. It's Meat's problem. Look, man, without Meat, we don't beat LSU in Omaha. In Baton Rouge and go to Omaha. Without Meat, all of the successes over the last 5 years, dare I say, don't happen, okay?
15.
Well, let's just, okay? But they don't happen. So I'm not going to do that thing where I just pretend that, okay, there's a change made and all of a sudden they forgot how to play baseball because, frankly, the only reason they were still hanging around and being relevant for the last number of years is partly due to Meat. And I also know that he doesn't tell guys to stare at pitches dead down the heart.
Right.
That's not a methodology. He's not telling them that. But clearly something didn't resonate with this group this year because they were bad all year long offensively. They just can't put the ball in play, and they're impossible in that regard. And then I don't know. I think sometimes these things become, to me, an albatross. And until they're not, they're just going to be. It sounds so stupid to say, but like you can recruit a kid that has an otherworldly defensive metric next to his name, right? Like everything he did in high school, everything you ever saw was that he goes and gets the baseball. He makes plays. He had a fielding percentage of .999 and he made one error his entire career in high school. But for whatever reason, when they get here, we cannot pick up the baseball on a regular basis. And we certainly don't pick it up when we absolutely have to pick up the baseball. It drives me nuts. These errors are always the worst possible times. And you expect them. You're sitting around going, it's going to happen. Here it comes. Somebody's going to throw this in the next week. I don't know what you do about that. They don't teach that.
I've got no answer.
I don't either. That's the scary part.
That's why I focus on the softball program.
Just saying, what do you do? It's just, woof. That's a conundrum because they haven't picked it up in some time. And that just carried on over this year. And now they don't pick it up or hit it.
Right. Whereas tonight around 8:30, 9 o'clock, no matter what happens, win or lose.
They had a great run. Yeah.
You know they got the absolute most out of the season that they possibly could, whether it continues or it doesn't.
Yeah. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Be well, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
By Jezebel, you can't beat the house. You can't beat the house.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Hi,